It's June 4th, and this is The View with Catherine Chang. Today's topics are the 31st anniversary of the Tiananmen incident and President Tsai's comments on the recall vote. First, I want to talk about the 31st anniversary of the Tiananmen incident. 31 years ago, in 1989, Beijing's Tiananmen Square happened the most severe suppression of the CCP. Starting from June 3rd midnight to June 4th, the People's Liberation Army and the armed police force fired toward hundreds of thousands of people. The result, according to the official numbers, the death toll is only 180. But in fact, it is more than 10,454 deaths. You know, the maximum amount of protesters once reached 1 million there. 31 years later today, there is a dramatic change in the United States, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. First, I want to say that U.S. President Donald Trump announced on June 4th that he will ban Chinese passenger planes from coming to the United States, and this will start from June 16th. He also lists several blacklists for Chinese enterprise to forbid the use of U.S. technologies. And second, as to Hong Kong, Hong Kong's national anthem law voted today. There were conflicts and protests, but it passed anyway. Third, in China, CCTV released 2 military drills of People's Liberation Army. Fourth, in Taiwan, at 9 p.m. today, there will be an online memorial for the Tiananmen incident, and the students activists like Huang Zhifeng, Joshua Wong, and Lin Feifan will make a speech. 31 years after the Tiananmen incident, it is regretful to see the destruction of Hong Kong's one country, two systems. You know, after China established the Hong Kong security law, any protest activities might cause crackdown. Taiwan reached out to Hong Kong to offer assistance, and both the United States and UK are seeking the possibility for Hong Kongers to immigrate. And it is sad to say, after losing Hong Kong, will Hong Kongers still be Hong Kongers? Or, let me rephrase, will Hong Kong still be the same after losing their democracy? Second, I want to talk about the President Tsai's comments on the recall vote of talking about this, about the Kaohsiung Mayor Han. You know, President Tsai, as a chairperson of the DPP, approved the Kaohsiung Mayor Han Kuo-yu recall vote statement. Yesterday, at the Central Standing Committee of DPP, she advocated Kaohsiung citizens to use their right to vote on June 6, no matter he or she approves or disapproves Han Kuo-yu. I once said that Kaohsiung Mayor Han represented KMT and ran for the 2020 presidential election against Tsai Ing-wen. He ended up losing 2.65 million votes, and that is a huge range of difference. Mayor Han's controversies are, first, he visited the liaison office of the Central People's Government in Hong Kong after he was elected as a Kaohsiung mayor. And second, he announced that he was running for the presidential election just 4 months after he was elected as a mayor. So it's a kind of betraying the anticipation of the Kaohsiung citizen. Will Kaohsiung citizen forgive him? The results will announce on June 6. Here are the top stories. Today, we have 0 confirmed cases. You know, here is the latest George Floyd protest updates. Today's biggest developments are all 4 officers now facing charges. At least 9,300 people arrested across the United States. Defense Secretary Mark Esper opposing U.S. Insurrection Act for George Floyd. And, you know, he said that the option to use active duty forces in a law enforcement role should only be used as a matter of kind of a last resort, and only in the most urgent and dire situations. I do not support invoking the Insurrection Act. And what is the Insurrection Act? You know, Trump, he's talking about to use Insurrection Act, and what is it? It is an act authorizing the deployment of land and naval forces of the United States in cases of insurrections. Remember, Trump once said, if a city or a state, really refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them. But, he seems to change his mind today because, he said earlier that at the first interview that he will decide to, kind of send military troops to any city. But he added, I don't think we will have to. Well, as to the coronavirus, Trump also said that it was kind of strange. Why is it strange? He said that strange that coronavirus didn't spread throughout China. He said, I asked this, why is it Wuhan? It came out of Wuhan. What is it that it didn't go to all China, but it went to the rest of the world? It went to Europe, it went to the world, it went to the United States, but it didn't go to Beijing. It went all over the world. And what is the little strange deal going on there? Except for this, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning, today is June 4th. It's the 31st anniversary. And Pompeo met with Tiananmen Square survivors, and he posed on the Twitter. And except for this, we know that the U.S. State Department spokeswoman Morgan Ortagus, he said that we mourn the victims of June 4th, 1989, and we stand with the people of China who continue to aspire to a government that protects human rights, fundamental and freedoms, and basic human dignity. And she also said, 31 years later, the total number of missing or dead Tiananmen protesters is still unknown. We reiterate our call for a full public accounting of those killed or missing. And President Tsai also tweeted today, around the world, there are 365 days in a year. Yet in China, one of those days is purposely forgotten each year. In Taiwan, there were once days missing from our calendar, but we've worked to bring them to light. I hope one day that China can say the same. And, actually, you can see what is it? Is that President Tsai posted. It's a calendar. That's what we said. This is the June 4th. And over here said that we can only think about the future once we face our past. But Chinese Foreign Minister spokesman赵立坚, he's kind of pretty mad about the international community mentioning about the Tiananmen Square incident. He said that the relevant remarks of Taiwan authorities are totally nonsense. To the political disruption, kind of a disturbance in the late 1980s in China has already drawn a clear conclusion. It seems that he didn't want to make any comments on the Tiananmen incident. Well, except for this, now let's take a look at Russia's official coronavirus website. And what is it? It's talking about some countries, what is the death toll. And it's really nice to see that Russia really put Taiwan as one of the countries. It's like, this is Taiwan, and we put it up. You can see, well, this is Russia. I cannot really read. I only know how to say spasiba. That is thank you, spasiba. But this is the confirmed cases is 443, and this is the death toll, and that is 8. So, these kind of things that Russia lists Taiwan in the list of countries, it is a symbolic move of recognizing Taiwan's contribution throughout this pandemic. So I think it is a very important thing for us to realize what happened in the Tiananmen. It's really a sad story, and it's really sad. But right now, China didn't say anything about it, and China didn't want to kind of, really to think back what they did wrong. So I think in the future, as to the Sino-U.S. relationship or as to the cross-strait relations, we have to think about it, and we have to think that whether China is telling the truth. That is very important. That will be the view for today. I'm Catherine Chang. I'll see you tomorrow.